All right, see if I can do this. Dear Officer Tatum, my name is John Robert Bernard Keigron, Keighron. I was born in 1979. My parents were Henry James Keigron, and my mother was Mary Ann Healy. My mother left my father for a younger man. He was about 19. His name was Charles Reeves. I never got to meet my father until I was 13. When I was raised and I went to school, they lied to the school system and told them my name was Reeves. It's so hard and long. Anyway, so my brother got drunk one day and spilled the beans and told me that who my real father was. When I confronted my mother and the school found out that my name wasn't Reeves, especially because the divorce was happening around that time, they made a deal with the school. If they shut their mouth, they would just keep it hushed because the school didn't want to get sued. My stepfather didn't want to get in trouble, and my father, as long as he didn't have to pay child support, he kept his mouth shut. Later on, I brought it up to the school system again, and they bribed me with a eye surgery. So my eyes used to be crossed. They're straight now. Well, they're independent, but they're straight. When I was 16, my mom and my father, they were alcoholics. You know, they didn't take care of none of their kids properly. And my mom had 9. So we all have different fathers, roughly, you know. So when my mom got kicked out of her place, I wound up on the street. And I wound up at my sister Mary Ann's house. And she's not right upstairs. She's just not right. If you knew her for 10 minutes, you could see that. Her, my brother Jimmy Dynarski, Dinarski. Both my brothers, Michael and Jimmy Dynarski, were criminals. They surrounded our house all the time with cops. They did time. It was a horrible, scary thing for a kid to grow up and see. So I always tried to do the opposite of what they did, you know. So my mother, you know, for 3 years wouldn't let me see my father. She told me if I got good grades, I can see my father. I got good grades, and she still said no. Finally, my sister got involved, and I got to meet my father. And that's when they made the deal with the school. And the school was Beer Street in Hazlet, New Jersey. This is all Monmouth County, New Jersey. Okay, so when I did that, before the end of the summer, okay, my sister and my brother made me quit school. They said that I'm not going to get the help that I needed because they didn't get it when they were a kid. And I'm not, you know, I'm looking for excuses. I got 2 limbs and then you can work, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the school system was trying, and they could not get, not my parents, not any of my guardians, to write off on me getting help monthly. You know, I'm not supposed to be working. You know, I'm 45 now. So I turned around, and before the end of the summer, she kicked me out of the house for swimming in a pool. And she said that bats were going to attack me if I swam in a pool. I got a witness. Like I said, she's not right upstairs. Well, my brother Jimmy, a few years later, he wound up having a drug house, and he got busted, and he did years in jail. Him and his old lady for, I think it was crack cocaine. Now, I'm not saying I was, you know, not a partier back then. Obviously, when you are around the people, you tend to be the people who you're around, even if you're not. If you know what I mean by that, I think it's you are the company you keep. So anyway, make a long story short on that, I lost it. I was only 16 and I was working 86 hours a week, and the gas station was a Shell station on the corner of Main Street and Highway 36 in Kingsburg, New Jersey. They had to pay me half on the books and half off the books because I was a minor and I wasn't supposed to be working those hours. And I kind of lost it. All my friends had kids. My parents needed help with money. My sisters needed. So basically, at the end of my paycheck, I had $200, and that would have to go weekly to my rent because I had no place to live. I wound up in a rooming house, and the guy was charging me I think it was $175 a week to live there in just a shit room. Again, nobody cared. As long as my father got his beer money, my mom got her friggin' bar money, and my sisters had something to eat in their stomach. Even my friend Joey Kilpatrick, he had a kid, and he was having problems with diapers. So basically, I got bundled up in my head. And this one guy who got hired there, his name was Chris. And, he had tattoos. He was throwing up signs, and I fell for it. I even helped him rob the gas station I was working for. The gas station was going to make me a partner when I turned 18. They should have told me that, because I would have had a goal set in my life instead of thinking I was abandoned and just screwed up. But nobody says anything. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks ahead. If it's not a crime if you don't get caught, and it's your problem, not mine. Give me money, So anyway, fast forward. I went to the courts. I said, look, I'm not really this kind of guy. I don't know what to do. So they said, go back to school and we'll clear your name. You pay the fines, pay back the money. And I did. So it was time to graduate. And I was supposed to now I'm living with my sister Donna, because her house was going to be up for sale. And all me and my parents had to do was come up with $5,000 for lawyer's fees, and we could have had the house. My parents didn't give a shit. It was a place to lay their head, and they had me believing that they were giving money to my sister. Well, it turns out that winter started to hit, like the fall months, and I'm supposed to be going to school. This is supposed to be my first year, and both my parents left me in that house with broken pipes, no electricity. And my sister showed up one day, and I was giving her money, and she's like, why are you giving me money? Where's mom and pop? Where's mom and dad? And I told them that they haven't been here for almost a month. I think it was that. I could be wrong, could be a couple weeks, but you get what I'm saying. They're gone. They're somewhere in town doing whatever it is they're doing, especially now that they don't have kids in their house. So my sister has me move in her house. But she was another one that said, no, you're not having excuses. You're not going to go on medicals. You're not going to do all that. As long as and this is what they all say for some reason, as long as your limbs work, you can work like we had to when we were kids. Because in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was a different world. My dad was not the same guy that I got to see, because he was a hard drinker. And he abused the hell out of my siblings. I'll give you one short story. It was a squirrel was taking clotheslines, the pins for the clotheslines, and so he got drunk one night, put them all in a circle, and whooped all their asses with a belt until somebody said that they did it. And even after he found out it was the squirrel, he made a joke about it and never apologized. I mean, those are scars. Those are mental scars and physical scars on somebody. I was a neglected 90%. My stepfather was never even around, and all my mom had to do was say I was bad for like 5 minutes, and I got my ass beat for shit that his daughters did. My 3 young sisters did. I was cross-eyed, underweight, malnourished, but as long as I went to school, the school board didn't see anything. They didn't care. It's just crazy. So my name is Reeves up until About between the age of 10 and 13 when they finally changed it in the school. It was Beer Street, Hazlitt. Then I got moved to Middletown. See, I know this thing hops around. This is a hard story to say. What I'm trying to say is that I'm supposed to not be working my whole life. I'm supposed to be collecting. And then nobody would do anything. So when I'm going to graduate finally, I have the papers for them to sign. My parents left state, and none of my siblings cared. They said, no, you're going to go to work like we had to. This is bullshit. Don't listen to the school system. Be it what I'm saying. Well, I graduated high school, class of 2000. Remember, I dropped out. So even though I was supposed to graduate at like 216 or 217, I had to quit to go work because that's what my brother and my sister said. So I got stuck doing. Well, a year goes by afterwards, and I lost all my records. I don't know why they would give somebody that they considered incompetent all of the records and not my sister I was living with. But then again, my sister would never go to the school because technically Keansburg and Middletown were two different school systems, and I wasn't supposed to be living in Keansburg and going to school in Middletown. See, they keep lying. They kept lying. They kept thinking they were doing me favors, but in the long run. So I graduated. My brother needed me to help him move because he left his wife. And I went to Florida, and he promised I would come back because I had one year of commercial art that they were putting me through to keep me in the school system for one more year to finish those paperworks. And they were gone. When I got back, they told me there's nothing they could do. All my school records are gone. My IEP report, the whole nine. They said, there's nothing we can do. Now when they go back, all they find is Reeves. So I don't exist in the school system even though I went. But if they would just use my social security number or look at the graduation videos, which for some reason they don't have any of those no more. Then I got into a situation where I wound up with my wife Alicia. Okay, I was like 21 and she was like 16, and her mom had me move in the house and says, you're good for my daughter. She behaves. She loves you. You're a good guy, and all this. And I fell in love with her. When it was just me and her, everything was good. But you never have that. Everybody in the neighborhood has to get involved and be in your business, and it's ghetto as shit. So turns out I wound up marrying her, and she had sex for the wedding rings, which I didn't know. She was put in a mental institution, which I didn't know. And then I found out that she turned around, did the same thing, jumped another guy's bones, because that's what happened with me. I wasn't looking for her. I just knew her, I liked her, but she was too young for me because I was like 21. Well, I'm going to be with a 16-year-old, but she got me at a very vulnerable time. And they knew it. They knew what happened. The parents knew what happened because she's done that before. Matter of fact, they put one guy in prison for having sex with her. So, you know what I mean? Anyway, from what the stepfather said, I was different. I was malleable. I was controllable. I mean, nobody wants to say this before the marriage. Everybody wants to open their mouth afterwards. Well, one day, prior to us getting married, when we were pregnant for my daughter Allie, her uncle, who I was forbidden to be around all the way up until this point because he was a drug dealer. His name is Thomas Wilson from Brooklyn, New York. So I got told that you're going to go with them, you're going to go see the grandmother who's 88 years old and play Skip-Bo and learn and so she can be with her while she's pregnant because, even though she's pregnant because it's Christmas time and she's 88, she could die, spend time with her. So I was like, all right, I don't like New York, never liked New York. Fuck New York. Anyway, so I turn around and I go there, and um, all of a sudden, now it's about me going and talk to him and hang out with him. And I didn't want to. I got forced into it. Even the 88-year-old grandmother who was upset about it was saying, he's supposed to be here to hang out with us. It didn't matter. So I got pushed out and stuck with him, and he wanted to do shots of Jack Daniels. I did one or two, and I didn't like it. I'm a beer drinker. So he caught me dumping shots in the sink. Okay, he looks just like Tony Soprano, by the way. So I'm already skittish. I'm already emotionally disturbed. I have ADD. And I was never taught how to defend myself, only defend my family. So unless somebody's crying in a fire, I don't know how to help my own self. It sounds stupid, but it's the truth. Anybody who knows me knows that. So he catches me, and I got it on my sleeve from spilling it, dumping it in the sink. And I'm like, well, you know, what the fuck you doing? I was like, well, I'd rather be here, man. Why are we doing these shots? You know, he's already getting tipsy and pissy. Like, I'm in his way. Meanwhile, you want to be around him. So I was like, come on, we're going to go down to the store. So I got me a 40-ounce bottle of St. Ides. Back then, that was the thing. That was what I liked to drink. That or Budweiser, you know. So we go into his car, which was weird. You know, now we're in Brooklyn, in his car. And before I can even get 3 swigs down, he starts talking about me dealing drugs in Kingsburg. Now, at first, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a test to see if I was on the up and up. So I made a joke, you know, like, yeah, man, I'll be like a, like the paper boy, man. I'll be slinging fucking rocks at people, you know, boom, boom, boom. He's like, good, that's what I'm trying to get you to do. And I'm like, whoa, no. I'm only fucking around. I got a baby upstairs. And I started, I didn't know what to tell him. I'm like, no. Then he says, you know what, you better not be a fucking narc. And then he starts to threaten me, and then we calm down. But then when he called her up and says it's a no-go, she started blowing up his phone. Now, mind you, I'm sober. 2 shots and 3 sips of beer. Okay? When you've been around drinkers, that's not much in the gut. You're not floating high, you know what I mean? So we go upstairs, and she starts to scream and yell. Now, the 88-year-old grandmother's all upset. I know what to do. Just like I told him. I said, dude, don't fall for it. This is what always happens. She'll calm down. Just let's go for a walk. And I walked out, but he stayed. And he took yokes to the face, scratched his neck, the whole 9. I'm downstairs waiting for him to come to his senses and come downstairs. But when he did, he came down like a raging bull. And he says to me, you can't control your woman. Next thing you know, I'm standing up, and I have an EMT holding this side of my head and an EMT holding this side of my head. And I have the owner of the property wanting me to sign a piece of paper. I have, I think I want to say a police officer and 2 firefighters, because I don't know, for some reason, the firefighters in New York are the ones that have ambulances. I don't know. So I asked for 2 things. I said, I need a cigarette. Give me a cigarette. They gave me a cigarette. I have a cigarette in my mouth. I said, go check on my wife and the grandmother. I mean, my fiance, because she was pregnant. Go check on her and the grandmother. And he lied and told them that I'm hallucinating. Okay? That I'm from Jersey. And I thought that they were upstairs. It was bullshit. I was sober, but they smelt the alcohol on my sleeve. Get it? So I stink like alcohol, and that was his thing. Well, I got to the point where nobody was listening to me, and I was bleeding to death because there was blood everywhere. I don't even know how I was still standing, but I had like 7 or 8 staples, 6 or 7 or 8 staples in the back of my head, which I took without Novocaine, by the way. Long story, I don't like needles. So I get to the hospital, and you know they were gonna put needles. I said, I don't need no needles in my head. The only thing you gotta do is put the staples in. And you know what the doctor said? I'm gonna do 1. If you can't get through the first one, you're getting Novocaine. I said, that's fine. And he went through all of them. And believe me, that was no picnic, but it was a reminder. So now I got these staples in my head, and I'm thinking my family's coming for me. You know who they fucking released me to? Him. And I had to go all the way home, back to the crime scene with him. Okay? And he told me that I had to lie to my fiance and say that I fell down the stairs, and that's what happened because I was drunk. And he made me repeat it 5 times. He said, how old are your parents? Okay? Do you understand what I'm getting at? So I promised him I'd shut my mouth. And then I get home, and my wife was bitching at me and yelling at me. All you had to do was figure out a way, because nobody would know you were dealing. Meanwhile, I didn't realize it, but her, my mother-in-law, which is Dawn Marie McAllister, and her name is Alicia Hojer at the time, Hojer, we're all doing coke when I wasn't home. When I wasn't around, they were all, you know, in the wintertime you think it's sniffles. No, they're high as hell, and I didn't know it. Okay, I got fired from 3 jobs just so that I could stay home and watch the kids. It's just stupid what happened to me, because I had no family. The thing I'm trying to say is that they turn around, and even though they knew the school system and all that, because I finally got an IE report from the school system. Old teachers that graduated me finally said, okay, well, here, this is all we can give you, is your IEP report, but it's not going to matter. It's too late anyway. These people were determined I'd shut my fucking mouth, because they would have lost their job. If they knew for a second my name was tampered with, the first thing they should have done is brought it to the court system, but they did it. They did it in the dark. I'm John Robert Bernard Kagren, not John Reeves. Now here I am, 45 years old. They changed my daughter's name to James just so she can divorce that guy. And they're still coming after me for child support. So now that the state wants child support, my ex-wife wants child support, my mother-in-law wants child support, and the douchebag who I told her I didn't want my kid around, so she went and married him to punish me. Then she brought up, that's why I didn't take your name anyway, because if the school system doesn't know who you are, why am I going to take your name? And she had sex with the wedding rings. From what I understand, that's called entrapment. Especially if you know that I'm, handicapped. Not physically, well, now physically, because I wound up pushing myself doing such stupid labor, like what people say Mexicans do, So now my neck is all screwed up, and my lower back's all screwed up. Summertime is not really that bad. 80-degree weather, but as soon as the winter comes, dude, I am useless. I don't have any kind of education because I can't absorb anything new. That's why all of my YouTube channels, both my YouTube channels, my Rumbles, and my Twitter look like crap. I don't know what I'm doing. When that happened in my head, it was 2003. Okay, it was either November, December, because it was right before Christmas. I can't get the medical records. I can't get a police report. I need the exact date, and because I didn't have any medical coverage, they say that I had one guy tell me, look up the ambulance, and then I called up the guy, and the guy was like already yelling at me on the phone. I don't know what it is with New Yorkers, man. They can't talk for shit. They automatically start assuming you're in their way. It was just pissing me off. I held my composure. So then they give me this hotline thing on the web to look up, and it was like error. And then when I tried calling back, all I had was music on the phone. And I don't know if you've ever sat on the phone for 45 minutes. Anyway. I don't know who to talk to about this. And I know you were an officer, and I've been following you for a long time. I don't know what to do. I'm living with my niece and nephew because my mother just passed. And that's another reason why I can open up now, because if this guy is still tied with all that, he threatened my parents. So, and then I find out that my daughter who's 21, is now living. My mother-in-law, ex-mother-in-law, and my daughter are living with him now. And if he's still dealing drugs, I'm scared for my daughter. Because he wouldn't hesitate to smack a fucking woman. And he doesn't care as long as he gets that money for those coke. Okay? Because it was, I mean, he always had pot. But his thing was the cocaine and e-pills or whatever that was back in the 90s and 2000s everybody was doing. And what was the other one? Some kind of pill everybody snorted until they put like a coating on it. It's supposed to be like heroin. I don't know. I'm a pothead. Oh, and I have a card, by the way. That I'm doing it legally. I have a job to do tomorrow. And I'm afraid that after tomorrow I'm not going to be able to physically work because of the winter. And when I tell them that I have these mental disabilities, they say it's too late, which I don't understand, because if I was disabled then and I never grew out of it, why would there be, And then they tell me that all my school records are gone anyway because they always give them out. It's funny because you can go to 1960s and get documents, but you can't get documents from the 2000s. I mean, how does a computer be able to delete? Does that make any sense? But then one teacher, because I finally, just before my mom died in October, which was messed up because she was a no DNR, and they did it anyway. She had cancer and she fought it, but she said that she did not want to be resuscitated, and I said, okay. They beat her up. Her eye was open, like one eye was open when she was laying on the table. She was bruised up. They tried sticking a hose in, all kinds of stuff that they weren't supposed to, but none of my family cares. That money could help me, and my family don't care. They would rather punish my parents through me and punish me because of what my parents did. I have 9 siblings. Most of them are females. I shouldn't have this kind of problem. Anytime I ever have a problem with a female, I should be able to call one of my sisters, but they're like, no, that's a you problem. I don't know what to say. Either way, I want you to know that you're a stand-up guy, and I agree with at least 90% of everything. And the only reason I say 90 is because maybe I missed 10%. I don't know what else to do. I don't like handouts. That's another thing, I maybe borrow, and pay back work-wise or something, but I don't like handouts. I was always taught to earn your own keep, obviously, but usually my keep was putting in somebody else's hand because that was easy to take advantage of. My teeth rotting out of my mouth. I've been off of beer and no other thing except marijuana and coffee and nicotine. Those are the 3 things that keep me going. Coffee, nicotine, and THC. And the THC works because no matter how hard the world gets, after smoking a joint, you can laugh at them. And that's what gives me strength. I tried learning woodworking. I just had the 4 stitches taken out. As you can see, that's not working out too well. Thank you for listening. And God bless you, bro. You kick ass and don't ever stop. Matter of fact, kick ass, take names, and keep going. I voted for Trump, and Lackawanna County told me my vote might not have counted. When I went there, they didn't ask me to take my mask down or my ID. They just pushed me through the poll. I should have known something was different. That was the first time I ever voted, and that was that last election. I want to say 2020 election. And then I knew something was wrong, especially when if guys like me never voted and we were voting for Trump, he should have got those numbers up. So I knew something was wrong. And PA sucks. The tri-state area is a pile of shit. And one more thing before I walk away here. I asked you to maybe Google Google white flags, Brooklyn Bridge. I'm wondering if the tri-state area as a unit, because there was white flags on the Brooklyn Bridge. I wonder if that was a technical sign for surrender. I made a video about it on my Rumble, which I'm up to $36. That would be really cool if I can blast some of those videos and get to 75 so I can cash out, but thank you.